in your summer
with these great recipes. Welcome to At the Table. I'm Cassidy. I am filling in for Sydney, and with me I have Miss Karen Wilson. She is an Extension Master Food Volunteer here in Sampson County. Today we are going to be making a variety of recipes, really trying to celebrate as September comes in, at kind of the end of summer, welcoming fall, but just celebrating being outside and those hopefully cooler temperatures throughout the month. But today, to get started, I have a spaghetti squash chicken casserole,
right.
Buffalo chicken actually, and then you have a homemade tomato sauce that you're going to share with us.
Absolutely, and it uses all the vegetables that you can obtain from your garden as your garden is transitioning into the fall.
Yeah, so a really great way to be able to use up some of those vegetables. And then to kind of finish up today, we also have a grilled salmon recipe that I'm really excited to show you all. It has definitely become one of my new family favorites and go-tos, so I'm super excited about that.
So am I.
But I'll go ahead and get started. First, we have our spaghetti squash, and I'm looking around for it wondering where is it because it's in the microwave. And actually, spaghetti squash as well as sweet potatoes are two of those kind of beginning of fall, really coming into season here in September. And so with spaghetti squash, thank you very much. With spaghetti squash, this is one that you can cook in the microwave or a crock pot, and sweet potatoes are the exact same way. When I discovered this, I thought that it was the greatest thing ever. But a spaghetti squash, many of you have probably seen it, and sometimes people get them confused with a butternut, which is also sort of a September, October time frame food. But really, it's kind of together like this. I've cut this one in half, and then I scoop the seeds out of this one. After you scoop the seeds out, put it in the microwave 10 minutes per half. So I had 2 halves, so a total of 20 minutes. I did 10, checked it, let it rest a second, and then I did 10 more minutes in the microwave. With sweet potatoes, you just poke holes in them, put them in the microwave, and you're good to go. But as you guys see, it shreds like angel hair pasta. So it's a great alternative if you are cutting back on your pasta, or you're just trying to eat foods that are in season, or if you're just trying to get more vegetables into your diet and more fiber, this is a great way to do that. But as you can see, it just shreds very beautifully. And then do the same thing with this one. And these are pretty warm, which is a good thing because we have lots of ingredients that we want them to kind of melt into our casserole to help hold it together. All right. So there's our spaghetti squash. Gonna kind of move things around in there. And as I mentioned, this does have chicken in it. And so if you are one that likes to kind of prep ingredients ahead of time, I know this is something we always recommend to people in regards to getting healthy meals on the table in less time. Say one Sunday afternoon, you can put, again, use your crock pot. You can have chicken that has been in the crock pot and slow cooked and it shreds. You can use that. You could use a rotisserie chicken, but this is some that I actually roasted in the oven a little bit earlier today. And so we're gonna add in our chicken. And this was just one whole chicken breast that I cooked and then I cut it up. You could do smaller pieces if need be. So kind of move that around. And next, while this is still warm, I want to add in, this is half of a block of the reduced fat cream cheese. And a lot of times people ask me, does the reduced fat really have a different flavor? Is it really that much better for you? I can't tell a difference in the flavor itself. This is one that I prefer simply because it does have less of that saturated fat, and saturated fat is what we want to limit in our diets. And so if you take a look at this, I like to use the percent daily value A 5% daily value means that it is means that it is low in that nutrient, and a 20% daily value means that it is high. So 5 is low, 20 is high. Even with the reduced fat, this is still a 19% daily value. So that full fat is even more that we just want to cut back in our diet. But I'm going to get this mixed up into our bowl, and then when we come back, I'll finish putting it together and we'll get it in the oven.
Introducing the Star Communications app. All the tools you need in one convenient location. You can access Watch TV everywhere. Check local channel lineup. Check your Star email. View and pay your Star bill. Report troubles. Use your Star Security app. Check your home voicemail. Sign up for CrowdFiber. Check your Wi-Fi speed. The list keeps going and going. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm just adding a little bit of salt into our vegetable mixture here with our cream cheese, chicken, and the actual spaghetti squash flesh. Next, I'm gonna add in a little bit of garlic powder. If you need a measurement, we generally say about 1/4 teaspoon, but it really just depends on how much garlic you actually like in your food. Next, I'm going to add in our corn, and I like to do half of a can of corn. This was a whole can that we had in the bowl, but I like to do half of a can. If you like more and you like that texture, certainly you can add in the entire can. When you are choosing your canned goods, you want to make sure that you're looking for the no salt added. If they don't have it available, just rinse it under some cool water in a colander, and that'll take away about 30 to 40% of the sodium. So next, I am not a huge blue cheese fan. This is another one of those things where you can really personalize it to you. I'm just gonna add in a little bit because I don't love blue cheese, but this is a buffalo chicken casserole. So I wanna make sure that I have at least a little bit of that traditional flavor. And then we are going to add in a little bit of hot sauce. Now, if any of you know me, I'm a huge baby when it comes to actual spice in my food. So if I like this recipe and you also don't like spicy, then you should be very trusting of me on this. As far as the measurement, it really just depends on personal preference. I like to go by color. If you like a lot of spice, then the more red, the better. But for me, I don't love that, so I like kind of a pale tint to mine. You could use buffalo wing sauce, really whatever kind of hot sauce that you like or have on hand is fine. And also a little bit of comfort to those of you who also don't like a ton of spice in the food, but you want that flavor. The cream cheese that I added in and then adding in some sour cream will also help to cut some of that spice. So I'm gonna add in about 1/8 to 1/4 cup of sour cream, and then a little bit of cheese, regular cheese. I like the reduced fat sharp cheddar. If you use a mild cheddar, of course you don't have quite as much of that bite from the cheese. It just doesn't taste cheesy enough for me, so I like to use the sharp cheddar. Mix this, and then last we are going to add in 2 eggs. These eggs will help to really hold everything together, and that will work pretty well with the cheese in making it a little bit more firm, kind of like you would expect with sort of a bake or a casserole. So we'll go ahead and get those in. I always like to crack my eggs on a flat surface. This helps to prevent getting those eggshells in. And I'm just gonna take a fork and beat those. Add that in, and then we are gonna put it into our greased casserole dish and get that in the oven. And I'm actually gonna turn it over to Miss Karen, who is gonna work on getting our tomato sauce recipe ready.
I think that looks delicious. I can't wait to try it. So at the end of the summer, you have vegetables that are still coming in your garden, but maybe they're not producing as much. And so one of the things I like to do is take all those vegetables or vegetables that I enjoy eating and making a sauce that becomes a base sauce for like spaghetti or chili or for stewing meats in. So what we have here, we have some carrots, We have the start of some orange peppers. I have some mushrooms that were left over in the refrigerator. I have some black olives because I love olives. You can also use zucchini and celery. Eggplant, you can put this in there as well. We just don't have those today. You also want to add some flavor. I love garlic, and so with this garlic, I'm just going to smash it with my knife. Make sure you keep your fingers up so that you don't put them in harm's way of the sharp knife. And I'm just going to peel it, and I'm just going to put that smashed garlic in my bowl that I'm going to add later. The next thing we're going to add is yellow pepper. I love yellow peppers, and I'm going to show you a way to cut this that Cassidy here taught us in our class. We cut off the top, we discard, and then we the stem part, and then we take a knife, and I'm going to put it down on there so the camera can get it in the right, and we cut the membranes that are around there, and this, your seed pod, just pops out. And so when we come back, we'll finish cutting this up, and I'll show you how to cut an onion.
Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
Welcome back. I'm just cutting up some yellow peppers and getting ready to make our sauce, but in the meantime, Cassidy has put our casserole in the oven, and it is cooking, and can't wait to taste it. So one of the things I love about this recipe is that you're just using what you have left over. It could be what you have left over in the fridge, if you got like a half of peppers or something, or if you got peppers. See, this is what happens when you don't pay attention to what you're cutting. You almost cut yourself. So note to self that you always need to continue to look downward and watch where your knife goes as you cut. I have a bad habit of cutting. Sometimes I put my finger up here, as we're taught to put our hands there, but it's about making sure that the knife is secure as you're chopping. You're going to continue to do a rocking motion, so you keep that tip kind of down and rock through your peppers. The other thing I like about this sauce is it can freeze. I usually make a whole bunch of this at the end of the summer, and I will use it throughout the fall and the winter. And it just allows you to add that fresh flavor to anything that you want to cook later on. So I'm going to kind of just start here, and we're going to put our yellow peppers into the bowl. You notice I turn my knife because earlier I was scraping my blade. So we kind of want to use the non-blades part to keep so our blade on our knife remains sharp. And you'll see people on television shows, the cooking shows, that they'll do that, but they'll use this part, the sharp part, to scrape, but they probably have someone that's kind of sharpening their knives for them. And they will dull your blade if you continue to scrape it against your boards, whether it's plastic or wood and so forth. So the next thing that we're going to do is an onion. And the secret to cutting an onion is we're going to take the top off. We're going to discard it, but we're not going to take the bottom off. We have this kind of way of saying keep the hair. It's really the root of the onion. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it in half. And we'll demonstrate half of this, and we're going to kind of just peel the outer skin off the onion. If you don't have onions, you can use shallots or shallots. How do you say that, Cassidy?
I just say shallots.
Shallots, there we go. I grew up in the Midwest, so maybe we have a little bit of a different. And you can also use leeks. You can use spring onions. The beautiful thing about this, you're just using what you have. One thing I like about the onions is they have ridges. And if you take your knife and follow those ridges, this will help you with the dicing of your onion. You notice I'm not going all the way to the end. On this onion, if you can see, there's a little whiter part and the green part. You just kind of want to go to that green part, and you want to cut down along those ridges. And as you continue to do that, the keeping of the hair, and I'll turn it, allows you to keep the onion intact. So you're not trying to hold it. And then the best part is you just chop, and there's all your beautiful onions pretty much diced for you. And you can put that to the part. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to add this to our bowl and move my bowl over. So I've got an array of a lot of sweet flavors. I've got carrots and the sweet peppers. I've got some savory with the mushrooms and the olives, and we're just going to put everything into our pan and our pot, not our pan. And then we're just going to dump all this in there. We're going to add some chicken broth, just enough to cover it. So depending on how much you put in there will depend on how much chicken broth you do. I would say, for me, it looks like I'm going to probably use the entire container. And once we get all that in there, all you're going to do is just turn on your stove. And I think I have the right one, but Cassidy will help me if I don't. You're going to put on a lid, and you're going to cook this for about 20 minutes until they're soft, and then we'll do the next step. I'm going to give it to Cassidy to continue.
All right, so what I'm working on is getting our marinade prepared in order to get our salmon on the grill. So we'll come back in just a little bit and actually get that salmon on the grill, but first let's get our marinade started. Now remember, with your knife, you want to keep that tip down, and I'm just cutting off kind of the ends of that garlic just because I don't really like those pieces. And next, you're just going to use your flat side of the knife, press down, and it comes right out of that peel. So we'll move those pieces away and then just kind of run our knife through there. You want to make sure that your fingers are always out of the way. If I'm gripping my knife blade, I know that they are not in my way. And I do want these pieces pretty small because they're going into a marinade that is on top of this fish, and I don't want to have a chunk of garlic. So just making sure that we get those chopped pretty well. And then we are going to mix that with some olive oil, soy sauce, a little bit of brown sugar. And like I've mentioned before, in a marinade, you want to make sure that you have an acid, an oil, and seasoning. So in order to have our acid, we are going to work with an orange today. So I'll go ahead and put all of that, put that garlic into our bowl. And then I'm going to mix in equal parts of oil and soy sauce. So this is a 1/4 cup of olive oil. We'll do a 1/4 cup of soy. Get that in there. We'll add about a tablespoon of brown sugar. You could use light or dark brown sugar, it really doesn't matter. So there's our brown sugar. And then we're going to use the juice of half of an orange. So this is where our acid comes in. There's also some sweetness that you get with this in addition to the brown sugar, but this is just a totally different flavor that a lot of people may not be used to with the salmon. But like I mentioned, it is one of my new family go-tos, my new favorites. So just to finish this up, I'm going to add in some parsley flakes. A little bit of salt. And then we'll whisk it together and get our fish in the marinade, and we'll let that marinate for about 30 minutes, and then we'll see you guys back.
Let's get out of here.
Protect what matters most in your life with security from Star Communications.
Hey guys, welcome back. Right now, our spaghetti squash buffalo chicken casserole is just finishing up in the oven. We've got our fish being marinated, and now I'm gonna work on getting some asparagus onto the grill. Now, there are two ingredients. Talk about ingredients that are staple items at my house all the time, but these right here are two more: olive oil and Montreal steak seasoning. This is all you need for perfect vegetables, no matter what the vegetable is. I use this for roasted green beans, roasted asparagus, Brussels sprouts. I mean, really anything. Montreal steak seasoning is my go-to. And it's pretty low in sodium. So I talked a little bit earlier today about the percent daily value, with a 5% daily value being low in that nutrient and 20% being high. And this Montreal steak seasoning has less than a 5% daily value when it comes to sodium. So it's a really good thing to have on hand, and it's not high in sodium. So that's another thing that we really like. So I'm just gonna make sure that I get these tossed really well and get them onto the grill. And typically asparagus takes about 14 minutes on the grill. You can rotate it kind of in between, so get to that 7-minute mark about halfway through and then turn them over. And salmon is very similar. This particular salmon actually does not have the skin on, but if you had skin on fish, you would want that skin side down on the grill first and then just finish it with a quick flip. But I'm gonna get this onto the grill and get our spaghetti squash casserole out of the oven while Miss Karen works on a couple more things.
Hi, so our vegetables have been cooking and they've softened, and we've placed them into the blender. And I'm just gonna scoop out the last bit of these vegetables in order to make our sauce. And then we're gonna add some stewed tomatoes to this. And this is gonna become that base sauce, that sauce that you can use to make spaghetti sauce with. If you can just take some Italian seasoning, and then, or you can take some chili seasoning and add it to a chili. I also added about a tablespoon of tomato paste. This is just to enhance the rich flavor of the tomatoes. I do prefer stewed tomatoes. I love the flavor of stewed tomatoes. I don't make them myself, so when they're on sale, I usually stock up on the cans. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna blend. It's gonna get a little loud, or not. There we go. And that's all there is to it. Now you kind of see it looks, because I used yellow and orange sweet peppers, it's a little light and not so red, but it's going to be delicious. We're going to go ahead and let this cook down a little further just to thicken up, let all the flavors of the tomatoes get into there. And once it cools down, you can put it in the refrigerator, or you can go ahead and put this in the freezer, and you can use it for later use. And it smells delicious. I wish you guys had smell aroma in here. So Cassidy, how are we doing on our salmon?
The salmon is just on the grill. It's got a little bit longer before it's going to be ready to flip. I'm gonna grab a little bit of cheese and actually top our spaghetti squash casserole. So let me grab that.
I can't wait to try that. And I'm just going to add a little bit more tomato sauce paste.
This is something you could do. You could pop it back into the oven for about 5 more minutes, or let it kind of melt naturally. But this is one of my favorite recipes, especially as football season is kind of ongoing. This is one that works really well for Super Bowl parties when that comes around, or just watching football games in general. And like I said, you know, we're using spaghetti squash in this recipe, and the sauce that Miss Karen was able to make for us today would be another really great recipe to kind of throw together with getting more vegetables into your diet. But we're gonna let this finish up. But again, I just wanted to say thank you to Miss Karen for being with us today. And we're gonna have a good time filming on into October.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you all back at the table.